Come on and see Tennessee Tuxedo. See Tennessee Tuxedo. He will be parachuting for your pleasure, sailing seas in search of treasure, anything so he can measure up to men. That's Tennessee Tuxedo, a small penguin who tries but can't succeed, although he may fail. As he vies for fame and glory, still he tries in each new story tale.
This is Mark Arnold, animation historian, and I wrote a book called Created and Produced by Total Television Productions. And today I have with me one of the founders of Total Television, Buck Biggers, and he wrote a book with one of the other founders of Total Television, Chet Stover, called How Underdog Was Born. And today we're watching the very first episode of Tennessee Tuxedo and His Tales, called Mixed Up Mechanics. And here we see Tennessee and Chumley at the South Pole. This is the first introduction of these characters on the screen.
Boy, would I love to be in a nice warm hotel room in the big city.
But you're a penguin and a walrus.
Tennessee Tuxedo is the name, and this is my chum, Chumley.
Pleased to meet you.
And Buck, tell me a little bit about this episode of Tennessee Tuxedo and how the series in general came about.
The series itself was really a challenge for us. You know, you seldom get an opportunity like this where everybody that's been approached say, no, it cannot be done. The project was that they wanted to produce a show that educated while it entertained. And when they said entertain, they didn't just mean do a fair job of that. They meant rate equal to or better than all the competition. So everyone else had said, no, it can't be done. And Chet and I said, yes, it can be done. And so we were given the opportunity to do it for General Mills. And our first challenge was, what the heck are we going to do? And we decided that what we needed to do was the old familiar formula. You get them up a tree, you throw rocks at them, and then you figure out a way to get them back down. This is the famous formula that made Popeye so successful. And what they used in Popeye to get them down out of the tree was spinach.
And here we see the first appearance of Mr. Whoopi there, pictured in the newspaper, and he's like Popeye and his spinach.
No, he's part of the equivalent. Education is the equivalent of spinach in our series. That's how we get them down out of the tree. And this Stanley Livingston there with his briefcase is a major part of that.
Wanted 2 auto mechanics, must hire today. But there's no address. Call the police.
Tell me a little bit about the casting of this episode. I'll just mention some of the names that worked on it as voices. Don Adams, Kenny Delmar, Mort Marshall, Larry Storch, and Ben Stone.
Well, to be kind, let's just say that when we were doing recordings of Tennessee Tuxedo, it was always a help if Don Adams wasn't there. He often sent in his lines from the West Coast to wherever he happened to be, Chicago, wherever it was. And everyone was happy with that because, to tell you the truth, Don was just not a friendly type. It's as if he had the hard-nosed image that he developed as a stand-up comic, and he kept on with that image in whatever he did, and he seemed to feel he had to carry it with the people he met as well.
And what about Kenny?
Kenny was a sweetheart, a love. Kenny Delmar was wonderful. We met him first when we did the Hunter series, which was based on his line, "That's a joke, son."
And on this series, he tended to do other things, including the narration.
Oh, he did many things for us. Narration, all kinds of voices. You name it, he could do it.
He must have been a favorite because you continued to use him over and over.
Oh, yes, he was a favorite, and he was just a fine man. He was really kind of hurt by Hollywood that they kept stealing his voice and never giving him a chance to do it himself. They kept using imitators when there he was, not getting any work, and they didn't hire him, so we did.
And what about Mort Marshall?
Nice guy with a big voice.
Well, that's what I keep hearing. And he did a couple other characters for your other series, too.
Several hours later, the master mechanics surveyed their work.
Look at that. Broken, ruined, junked. The whole engine. Now we'll have to build a new one.
Gee, Tennessee, Maybe it's time we went to see the man what's got all the answers.
I know. It's time to see Mr. Whoopi. Let's go.
Now here we are in Mr. Whoopi's office, and tell me a little bit about that.
Larry was the one, when we had auditions for Mr. Whoopi, his voice won it hands down. That's the only voice Larry did for us, really. Of course, he was also in F Troop, which was a ripoff of our Go-Go Gophers. But
I didn't know that. I guess that's true.
yep.
Tell me a little bit about Ben Stone. He did the voice of Rocky Maninoff in this and a number of other episodes of Tennessee Tuxedo.
Yeah, he did quite a few others, and Cad Lackey, and he was a good voice, man. Nobody ever got terribly close to him, but he was a nice guy, easy to get along with, and a good voice, man.
Now, the one person I haven't mentioned yet is the voice of Chumley. Now, in the series, we always know that it was Bradley Bulkey has always played Chumley, but apparently it wasn't your first choice. What is the story behind that, and why wasn't he your first choice?
It's funny, but if you're looking for a voice like Chumley's, we did not have a particular person in mind for that voice. We just knew that we wanted it to sound somewhat stupid, but not terribly stupid, and also at the same time somebody that could be beloved. And so I think we knew that, what we wanted, and thought it would be terribly easy to get. But the first tape that we made of auditions, it was terrible. No one got within a mile of it. And then the second audition, Bradley just nailed it. Just came on, and there it was. Absolutely perfect from the very beginning. It never had to be directed or anything else. Up or down or sideways or less emotion, more emotion, nothing. It was perfect. That's Bradley.
Tell me a little bit about the process of creating an episode of Tennessee Tuxedo. I understand that this originally was supposed to be a longer episode than what originally aired, like maybe a whole half-hour episode. Can you explain a little more in detail about that?
This was before the formatting was done. It was actually when we were just creating the idea and presenting it to General Mills. And in doing that, the first episode was much longer than we're seeing it, because it was not only introducing the characters, but then doing a full, complex plot. And in this, we really only do half the plot. So that's what's meant by shorter episode. As for doing the Tennessee episodes, I can remember one day, on my way up to meet Chet, we were going to write new episodes, and I didn't have anything to work with. Normally, you would start either from a junior encyclopedia or some sort of encyclopedia, but I didn't have anything, so instead I took the phone book with the yellow pages, and to write the episode, we just went through the yellow pages. One of them was plumbing. I forget what the other one was, but that's how we got the ideas. And once you got the educational idea, it's amazing how quickly the storyline filled in. So we always began with the educational element.
Each rod is fastened to the crankshaft.
I get it. When the pistons go up and down, the crankshaft goes round and round.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the supporting segments of Tennessee Tuxedo, like the King and Odie.
King Leonardo and his short subjects, which became the King and Odie, was our original series, and always a great love. And the voice for King Leonardo was Eugene Pallette, which a great character actor with a voice. The most unheard of thing I ever heard of. You know, he was just a wonderful voice to have. And Odie Coloni was the voice of Ronald Coleman, who was a distinguished actor who had died a few years before we began our series. And Biggie Rat was Edward G. Robinson's voice. And the King's brother, Itchy Brother, was just the voice of a knocked-out fighter who had a few too many goes in the ring and couldn't really take it anymore.
Well, Buck, I want to thank you for talking with us today. This is the episode number 1 of Mixed Up Mechanics for Tennessee Tuxedo.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Come on and see Tennessee Tuxedo. See Tennessee Tuxedo. Tennessee Tuxedo and it's